My name is Ogundele Moses from the Marketing Executive, Noba Africa. Now, before we kick off our conversation, let me say conversation or discussion. Let's take a moment to outline the agenda for today's webinar. We've structured our conversation around several key topics that are central to understanding the dynamics of food production, consumption, and challenges in Nigeria. So, as you can view the screen, we have some topics that we'll be discussing tonight. First up, we'll be exploring staple food in Nigeria. The topic is very crucial, and staple foods form the foundation of the Nigeria diet and play a significant role in ensuring food security for millions of people across the country. So we will be looking at the most commonly consumed staple foods, their nutritional value, and their importance in the context of food security. And next, we will dive into the volume produced and consumed in Nigeria. Understanding the scale of production and consumption is essential for assessing the adequacy of food supply and identifying the gaps or discrepancies that may exist. So following that, we also turn our attention to the current production level in Nigeria. These topics will allow us to examine the state of agricultural productivity in the country, including the trends in production output, key crops, and areas of potential growth. And of course, no discussion on food security would complete without addressing the challenges faced by producers and consumers alike. And from environmental factor to economic constraints. Kindly mute your mic, please. Hello, Mr. Bernard. Kindly mute your mic, please. Kindly mute your mic, please. Thank you. Thank you, sir. So, and after discussing the challenges, we will explore the concept of consumption leakages. This refers to any inefficiencies or losses that occur between production and consumption, whether due to spoilage, waste, or other factors. Identifying and addressing these leakages is essential for optimizing food distribution and ensuring equitable access to nutritious food for all Nigerians. And finally, we conclude our webinar by discussing the way forward. This will be an opportunity to brainstorm solutions, share best practices, and explore innovative strategies to for enhancing food security in Nigeria. And now that we have a clear roadmap, as you can view on the screen, for our discussion, I'd like to invite our esteemed panel of speakers that we have tonight to share their insights on each of these topics. Our speakers brings a wealth of knowledge and expertise to the table, and I am confident that their perspectives will enrich our conversation and help us gain a deeper understanding of the challenges and opportunities ahead. Without further ado, let's dive into the first topic, which is staple foods in Nigeria. And I will turn it over to our first speaker to kick off, and the person of Mr. Noji, the CEO of Noba Africa. Over to you, sir. Welcome, sir.
Thank you so much, Mr. Moses. The network didn't was very good service. Just again, can you hear me? Am I clear enough? Am I audible?
If you can hear me, if you can hear Mr. Nojim, kindly signify, please.
Please let me know if you can hear me.
I can hear you, sir.
Okay, so great. First of all, I first want to thank Mr. Michael for taking out time. Today is a very busy day for him. Today is his birthday. So I understand that he only just takes time for us. Mr. Michael is a very skilled professional in the agri space in Nigeria with lots of experience working for TGI, working for Onyx last year, working for Precise. He has worked with some of the biggest multinationals and indigenous companies that we have in Nigeria. So, and he has, as a consultant, he has a lot of information and powerful insight on topics that we are delving on today. So, I will not want to take much of our time this month. I want to go straight into the topic. But before I do that, I want to say a bit on Noba Africa. What we do in Noba Africa, we do four things major in Noba Africa. We do commodity trading, that's the supply companies raw material to process. We sell seed, we handle projects, and we invest for people. So those are the four major things that we do in Africa. So without further ado, um, first of all, I want to just address the first two, three topics so that Mr. Mr. Michael will take on some more technical part of the presentation. Staple foods in Nigeria. If you look at the landscape in Nigeria, we have about 15 staple foods, from rice to wheat to maize to millet to sorghum. We have yam, we have cassava, we have fufu, we have eba, we have it's about 15 of them that are the staple food of we Nigerians, running from the west to the south to the east. So staple foods are food that we consume on a daily basis. It's not necessarily the food with the best nutrition, but those are the food we consume on a daily basis. And the volume of this staple we produce in Nigeria as of today is about 21 million metric tons. The volume of what we consume is about 27 million metric tons, leaving a deficit of about 6 million metric tons. So you can see the reason why we import a lot. So we have a deficit of about 6 million metric tons. That's well above 20%. It means 2 in 10 Nigeria go home hungry without eating morning, afternoon, and night food. 2 out of 10 Nigerians go home hungry from data we have. So I have run through the staples we have, the volume we produce, and as we discuss further, I will delve in more into the volume of production. I'll also delve in more into the volume of consumption. But for now, those are the statistics that we have. The staples that we consume are about 15 staples, ranging from rice to wheat to maize to millet to sorghum to yam to potato to Irish to fufu and the likes. And the volume produced in Nigeria is around 21 metric tons, and the volume of what we consume is around 27 million metric tons, leaving a deficit of about 6 million metric tons. So as we continue this discussion, I will analyze this data further so that we can really appreciate and understand what these numbers mean. So the current production level, I want to give Mr. Michael the table to take on from here. After which, I'll also chip in one or two things before we move to the next topic. Mr. Michael, you have the floor.
Welcome, Mr. Mike. Welcome, sir.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, you can.
Clearly.
100%.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Sorry, the network is somehow today. Okay. So, thank you, Mr. Najib. So, Mr. Najib has just given us insight on what staple foods are, and then in general, what the current volume and deficit we have in the country, and which tells us that there's more work to do and we have a big challenge on our hands at the moment. Okay, so in terms of production volume, what we produce, um, I'll be honest with us in this meeting so that we'll begin to see opportunities and begin to dive at it. I'll be very, very honest. Okay, so um, first of all, we have a major problem in Nigeria in terms of data. In terms of data, we have a major problem. So, you see different data from different organizations, and so you really cannot hold one particular one. Uh, but then we could work with something. So, when it comes to volume of production, for rice at the moment, as of 2023, we produce 5.2 million metric tons of rice. 5.2 million metric tons of rice. Um, Currently, Afex is saying that we have a huge decline in maize. Maize as of 2021 was 12.7 million metric tons, but due to insecurity and the likes, um, I'm hearing from Afex that maize is seriously low in the country at the moment. Now, imagine those volumes. Why I picked rice and maize is because out of the all the staples, these two are very key in terms of our staple foods in this country. Rice and maize. If each family is estimated to eat 32 kg of rice, 32 kg of rice. Each family is estimated as a household, and maize is what we definitely eat on almost in all our uh, factory produce. We have the likes of cornflakes and the biscuit and all that. We have maize involved. Um, those are the two major volume metrics that are currently I can currently give right now. But as we go on, as we talk more on the volume, because if I say more on the volume, I'll definitely begin to jump into other topics. So, I would want us to take it one at a time and then begin to dive at it. Over to you, Mr. Najib.
All right. Thank
Okay.
you,
Thank you so much.
Mr. Moke. Thank you, sir. Um, from where we stop is where we're going to continue. The first topics that we just treated was staple foods Nigeria, whereby the next is volume producers. So, and we would like you to please continue with this volume producers and to volume consumed. Like the boss said earlier that he's going to take the staple foods in Nigeria, fully produced and fully consumed, and then you just delve into the volume producers. So we would like you to just continue from it, then we take it from there, sir. So Mr. Mike, you still have to come up with on the topic of the volume producers. Thank you.
Okay, so Okay, so for volume consumed in Nigeria currently, as regards to rice, each family eats, as I said, 32 kg of rice annually. The consumption volume is between 5.4 million, around 5.4 million to around 6 million metric tons of rice yearly. When it comes to rice, and then when it comes to maize, so a person annually is estimated to consume 17.7 kg of maize on an annual basis. When it comes to maize, so when you look at our consumption rate, just imagine you multiply 200 million people by 17 kg, by 200 million people. It means we are over three, I should say 3.4, yes, 3.4 million tons. But then are we producing to that volume in this country right now? And the essence why we are having this webinar is to see the gaps in between. That is, the gaps in terms of the production volume, the gaps in terms of the consumption volume, and then see the opportunities involved and how we can key into those opportunities. As a country, Mr. Najim just said from the beginning, there's already a consumption deficit in terms of what we consume and what we produce. There's already a huge deficit, and this is the reason why I would say this in all honesty. In the next, if we as a country do not do the right things we need to do, in the next 10 years, I'm saying it, in the next 10 years, we'll still be depending on imported food to be able to survive. So, in speaking about, the consumption volume and also the current production volume level that we have, every commodity every staple food has dropped in terms of current production volume. There is no statistics now as at 2020, 2024 or ending of 2023. Most statistics houses are just doing a lot of collation. But I know for a fact that I think I had additional speaking somewhere, and he said the estimation is we have lost more than 1 million hectares of land to insecurity alone. More than 1 million hectares of land to insecurity alone. So if we lose more than 1 million hectares of land, imagine what is left to even farm. That's to insecurity. Not talk of other challenges that that are there that are hindering our level of production. So for maize, production has dropped. For soya beans, production has dropped. For rice, production has dropped. For cassava, production has dropped. I give you an instance today. I have a whole lot of companies acting of cassava chips. Even you can't get cassava chips as the way you get it in the market as before. So production has dropped. When you talk of sorghum, also production has dropped. When you talk of sesame now is even so scarce like rice. Production has dropped. So it brings the question to say our current production level. If I would want to categorize it, we are at a danger zone. We are at a danger zone because our population, the rate of our population increase is increasing at a speed that we as a country, we are not controlling birth control. We don't have birth control and policy, but it's increasing at a faster rate. However, our production level to be able to feed the people that are in this country is reducing at an exponential rate that has never been seen before. We have never experienced this level of reduction in terms of production level. We have never experienced that. So I would say the deficit that we have as regards to consumption and production level, it's more than 20%. Mr. Najim was being generous to say 20%. I would say we are at a critical stage. It's more than 20%. So this brings us to, as part of this webinar, to begin to think, what can we do as individuals and as an organization? What can we do to ensure that we don't get into a critical mode? So I was reading an article also today, and it says, and I really want to bring this to our notice. It says by the middle of this year, 26.5 million Nigerians would enter into acute hunger. 26.5 million Nigerians would go into acute hunger by the middle of this year. So it means we are in a critical moment as we stand in this country. So I think that gives us a sense of understanding where we are currently. Okay, so I think am I to still move on, Mr. Iman? Am I to still move on to the challenges in production?
You have the floor, sir. You have the floor, sir.
Okay, that's nice. Okay, so now the current challenges in production. Currently, I really want to look at the current situation and not look at textbook challenges. So the monster in the room as regards to production in Nigeria is insecurity. That's the big monster in the room. In any forum, any fora you find yourself, and people are talking about insecurity. People are talking about food insecurity, the challenges in the food industry currently. The monster in the room is insecurity. So insecurity has ravaged not just now, not just the northeastern states. It has entered the north central. It has entered, it's creeping gradually into the southwest, and we're beginning to lose a whole lot of production capacity to insurgency, banditry, and the likes of men on the underworld. This is critical that as citizens and as government, we begin to, as citizens of the country, begin to cry out to government, say that needs to be looked into. 2 weeks ago, I had, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, I had in Way West in Makodi, bandit ransacked communities in that place. Way also produces yam, produces soya, and also produces rice. Bandit attacked that locality, and then nobody's even doing anything about it. So insecurity is a major one that I will put on the table for us to look into. Challenge number 2 that I also currently see that we are facing is we have a lot of research institutions that are that just functions like government agencies and not do anything. Okay, so why do I say so? Yes, some research institutions are working, but some are really not doing anything as such. And to that effect, you see a whole lot of farmers have issues with with their produce, and then nothing is done in terms of research to give them new ways of producing. So I give you another example. There's a current issue with ginger. There's a current issue currently with ginger. The last harvest, which happened with ginger, which was that, and ginger is being attacked by by a disease that I'm telling you the sector has not seen, the value chain has not seen, and solutions are just being scarce. I'm in a forum where it's discussed, and it was brought to the forum, and the farmers were saying they need help. So we have research institutions that are not up to date in terms of bringing out solutions to our current production challenges. The other challenge we also have is logistics challenge. Logistics is a crazy thing right now, because since our president said fuel subsidy is gone, it just looked like everything just turned upside down. Places where you could take, for instance, you could spend 600,000, 500,000 for logistics. It's now running into millions. So I give an example. From Makodi to Abuja before, it's around 450, 500,000. As I tell you today, from Makodi to Abuja, it's 1.4 million for a truck. So it is a huge challenge as regards to production, because it will hinder the movement of goods that have been produced, to various markets or various locations where they can be sold. In addition to that, our infrastructure is really dilapidated. You have bad roads, no good roads linking farms. So it's such a huge challenge. Addition again to this is the fact that now, with the increase in the devaluation of the naira, I'm telling you, all farm inputs have gone up. Chemicals have gone up, fertilizers have gone up. Imagine previously we encourage farmers to contribute money and then buy a tractor and they use it for production. I don't think anybody who is in the agri value chain who does maybe outgrow program would want to advise their farmers right now to go and buy a tractor. The tractor is very expensive because of the exchange rate and all that. So farm inputs are expensive for for farmers to even produce. And if farmers can't get this farm inputs at a cheaper rate, it becomes a huge problem for them. It becomes a huge problem, and invariably becomes a huge problem for us as a people and as a country. That is also something that I think we need to begin to look at. That is something I think we also begin to look at. So currently, these are the challenges that I see, that I think that needs to be worked on quickly. Also, before I forget, policy somersaulting. So it's no news that we have so much the policy. You see government come out with a policy that they will do this and that, and then all of a sudden there's a backtracking, and then changes things and all that. So a whole lot of policy somersault. I remember the beginning of this government, they categorized. The government said that they were implementing or declaring a state of emergency for food. Now, yes, that's a good one. It shows, yes, a bold step. But in terms of implementation of certain things, state of emergency has really not worked. And then the government backtracked, and then we saw the government having to, lift bans, allow importation come in and all that. Uh, you do that again, it will also affect, the value of your money. It will also affect your processing factories. It will also affect the jobs, the livelihood of the citizens. So, not thinking things through. Now, not thinking policies through in the long term and having a long term strategy and pathway of implementation is also a huge challenge in terms of production. Um, in terms of production currently. So these are the monsters in the room that when we go to events we talk about and we see, and then we try to find possible ways or possible solutions to these problems. But majorly we need to talk of the security of our farmers. The security of our farmers is very, very critical. So I would like to ask, so Mr. Abano, when you say consumption, what would you want me to say about consumption? Because consumption also talks about volume consumed. So when you say consumption, are you still referring to volume consumed?
Yeah, well, thank you, Mr. Michael. So, Mr. Anoji, so can you please take this up so we can move on, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Michael. That's a deep dive. Just a way of also comment. Like you've rightly said, the challenges are there, and you've really explained it. If they can look into these challenges, definitely, I know our problem will be fixed. From the demand side, I think we are having serious demand from neighboring countries. A lot of neighboring countries like Niger, Benin Republic, Togo are coming in to buy the little volume of what we are producing in Nigeria. Then on the supply side, we are not producing enough to consume, and some of the reasons, in addition to what you said, some of the reasons has to do with the level of productivity in Nigeria. Nigeria is still a very low productive country, where you see people are still the average maize productivity is still around 2 point something tons. The average productivity of rice is still around 3 point something tons, where other countries are recording double digits. I was in Zimbabwe. I saw a farmer that was recording 20 tons per hectare of maize. So, and we are still doing 3 tons. So, we have low productivity here. Also, high cost of input, like you've rightly mentioned. We also have information asymmetry. There's not enough information that goes around these farmers. These farmers, some of them don't even have access to information. They don't have access to the we call it gap, good agronomic practices. They don't have the right people to take them through, because when you look at the ratio of extension agent to farmer in Nigeria, is quite alarming. So we also have urbanization. We don't really look at People don't really look at that, but it's also a threat in a country that 70% of its population are farmers. Urbanization tends to be a threat, and we need to really move up beyond that. I think when we are looking at a way forward, we are going to also touch on that, because when people are living from their villages to Lagos to Abuja to Kano, then it means the level of production will also come down. So consumption, consumption, we are looking. What I meant by that consumption is per crop. So it's alarming that rice, wheat, and maize makes up 40% of what we consume in Nigeria. Whereas, yes, we produce about 5 million tons of rice, which is not enough. We produce some 10 million tons of maize, which is not enough, which is even still going down because of insecurity. But for wheat, we only produce around 100 or 200,000 tons of wheat. So, and these are the major things we consume. And this is the reason we keep on importing. So I don't know, Mr. Michael, can you, is it something you would like to shed more light on? The pattern of consumption, our pattern of consumption in Nigeria. I know I know you already mentioned it earlier, but if you can just lay a bit of more emphasis on the volume of rice and maize we consume in Nigeria.
I didn't hear you. Your line was breaking.
This network is a terrible thing. I think it didn't do well for us. This today should not be the day that we're having network issue. But we really apologize on behalf of Nigeria on that. But can you hear me clearly now?
Okay, I can pick.
I
Yes,
You
can.
said
yes, yes.
Okay. So I said the consumption, we're looking at the pattern of food consumption. We have already mentioned it earlier. Maybe if there's one or two things you still want to say on it, the pattern of consumption, like we consume 32 kg of rice per person in Nigeria. In of maize also we consume 17 point something kg per head, and also wheat. So looking at this pattern, is it sustainable? Is there anything we need to do to address uh, uh, the low volume that's available for consumption?
okay. So the truth of it is this. So for me, I believe this would increase because of our population increase. So in addition to that, there's a data in it's an old data in 2017, that suggests that for cassava, we consume 140 kg per annum, and then for yam we consume a person consumes 130 kg, for yam. Current figures are very scarce in that value chain, but what I see for the pattern of consumption is it will continue to increase. And I think what the government needs to begin to, to do is the government needs to begin to encourage close substitutes, you understand, of our major staples, you understand, close substitute that we do not have much pressure in the value chain. So I was talking to a friend and I said, okay, yes, the kind of pressure rice is getting right now, it's not the same pressure, it's not at the same level with the yam value chain. So can we begin to encourage our people to move to a substitute which is yam, and be able to, within the space of the time people will be moving, you understand, we have less pressure on rice, be able to fix that sector to be able to manage the pressure that is on that value chain? Or can we say, okay, let's think of, yes, we eat a lot of wheat, we don't even have our production level is nowhere to our consumption level. You understand? What can we do as alternative? And I also said that the challenges we also have is the fact that our research institutes are not doing enough to commercialize, certain solutions in terms of products that they have. Yeah, commercialize them. Yeah, we mustn't eat, for instance, we mustn't eat boiled rice alone. There's rice cake, there's rice this and all that. There are nutritional things to begin to tell families that no, you don't have to eat 32 kg. You can eat this quantity of rice. Those things, when we begin to have those knowledge out, and the population begins to see them and begin to understand that, oh, I don't have to eat a whole full bowl of rice, and then to know that no, if I eat small quantity and then I supplement with this, I'm good and fine, and I still have the same nutrients that I'm looking for. I think then we'll begin to adjust properly. But the way we are right now, I bet you, as I said, I bet you, in the next, if we don't put proper solutions on ground concerning these challenges that we have, I am in the next 2 years, even before then, people will be on the streets, and that's what I see. Yeah, Mr. Najee.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Michael. Really appreciate this. So, this is May 27, and we are planning to end this webinar by exactly 9:40. So, we still have two topics to treat, which is the leakages and what is the way forward, that is the solution. So, I will throw this to Mr. Naji. If you can take us with the leakages, then way forward. So, Mr. Naji, you have the floor, sir.
Okay. Time is well spent. Yeah, on leakages is still one of the is this some of the major challenges that we are facing. For example, we still suffer over 30% of post-harvest losses during post-harvest handling. It means if you are producing 100 million tons of food product, we lose 30 million tons just to waste. The number is pretty much alarming. In fact, if you can get this 30% right, we might be able to close the 6 million tons margin that we lack. So we wrote an article. I think that's last 2 weeks. It's where we see that it's even worse for vegetable and fruit, where we lose our 55% to post harvest handling. These are huge numbers that if we can look into, we believe will really close this gap or will reduce hunger. Then also export within Africa, because of our weak currency, our food has really gone so cheap. These are the leakages. These are where we are losing our foods. These are where we are losing our production too. We are losing our production because our the strength of our currency is low. So other African countries sees it cheaper to come and buy our own food. So it's also a major cause of the level of food insecurity in Nigeria, and also over focus on cash crop. You see a lot of people are now leaving the farming of staple crops. They are now much more focused on crops like sesame. They're focused on cocoa, cashews. Those are, yes, of course, those are good crops, but it doesn't. You cannot be hungry and bring cocoa and put stew on top. You cannot eat cocoa. You cannot bring sesame and start eating as your staple food. So I think there's supposed to be a level of awareness that is created that within the farmers to know the importance of also farming staple crop, because people are gently moving from farming staple crop into solely focusing on cash crop, and this is not really helping the level of food security in our nation. So those are the three things I think. These are the three leakages I see that we are losing our production to. Thank you.
Okay, so can I just add to this? Okay, so Mr. Najib, you rightly said yes. We are losing those from in those areas. So I also want to add there by giving us this example. I met with the Onions president, National Onions president, some months back when we had the training for them, and he said 40% of of what they produce, onions producer nationwide, is lost to post-harvest issues. 40% is lost already. So what you have is 60%. And out of that 60%, another 30% goes outside of this country. So we are left to consume 30%. Now, for that 30% that is left, you don't have, in this country as it stands now, you really don't have a major company that does, that can process onions into these dry powdered onions and all that. So they now have to be transporting to Lagos, which also has its own risks in terms of logistic issue. So these are leakages. Now imagine that value chain. 100% of what you produce as an onions producer, there's a probability you can lose everything. So imagine that kind of leakage. Now, in terms of cash crop, the reason why people are moving to cash crop and doing cocoa and the likes is just for forex. It's for forex. You see, people are these people who do those things are more of commercial guys, and they just want to hedge their money. They want to hedge their money in a currency that is more stable. So if we can look at the stability of currency, then I think we'll begin to have those leakages would reduce in a bit.
Thank you so much, Mr. Michael. Thank you. Those are very deep insight. If we are not in the field, you not really understand, grasp how important it is to look at the post-harvest losses that we are having. So, great points. Then I think we can move into the last point, which are the way forward. Okay, how can we curb the food insecurity in Nigeria? In case we believe we will have one or two audience that can take action on this. We believe if we are putting out this information, it's something that one day somebody will act on. So we feel it's very important that we also put out the way forward, what we think can really reduce the food insecurity also out there. So you have the floor, Mr. Michael. What are the way forward?
Okay, so I think first of all, we need to look at ways to increase our production. So we're already in the mix right now. So first of all, is government should be able to find a way to support farmers in terms of input. So the input should be, subsidize the input. I would encourage the government to subsidize fertilizer, subsidize seeds, subsidize operation. So good. I think the Ogun State government, or I think one of the southwestern governors, have started subsidizing in the sense that they are subsidizing farm operations for farmers 50%. The government will pay 50% of farm operations. So tractors goes to your farm, and then they do your farm. Those are the things that government should begin to look at in terms of so that we can increase production. Number two is, I also think now government should there should be more effort in doing dry season farming across all food crops, across all board. There should be more investment in seeing that our irrigation systems are working across the nations. We shouldn't be a country that is totally reliant on rain fed alone majorly. No, we should be doing 3 cycles of various staple foods that we have in the country, because staple foods that we have are short cycle, 3 months, 4 months varieties that we have. We should be able to be doing 3 cycles. So we should look at the irrigation part, which is more critical. So I also think with the government establishing a commodity board, which is a good one. The commodity board should be up and doing in terms of having to for price management. Having to manage prices and see that food prices are not escalated, and then we have so much and people don't take advantage of it. So also, way forward is to tackle hoarders. So you see, we are Nigerians, we take advantage of situations. A whole lot of people might have invested and say, this is an opportunity. If I keep this commodity for the next 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 1 month, it will go up. Yes, the truth of it, there's no commodity you buy now and you keep for more than 2 weeks. you definitely make crazy money after 2 weeks. Yes, but then we also need to put human face to it. Human face, so people should not be, there should not be too much profiteering over the circumstances that we are in. And the elephant in the group is for the government to please and please look at the insecurity. So it's not hard. The thing is this, it's just a matter of saying let there be let there be the political will, and then the structural will to really solve this insecurity. Farmers are scared of going to the farm. So if the government can tackle these three major things: insecurity, look at subsidizing input for farmers, do irrigation, you understand, make the commodity board form very functional, you understand, in terms of implementing the policies of the government, having food system dialogues with stakeholders, then I think we will definitely be able to secure ourselves when it comes to food in this country. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Michael. Mr. Najim, do you have anything to ask to that so we can throw the questions to the audience? If you have any questions, we can open the floor. So do you have anything to add to that, please?
So I think Mr. Michael has said it all. Those are just the major things. We need substitutes. Imagine India, USA. There's no way that there's no place, any developed nation or any serious nation, that they don't substitute agriculture, don't subsidize agriculture, energy, and transport. Those are key things that you always have to subsidize. So I think I 100%, you are very that's the key thing. Then also irrigation farming need to be promoted. Um, and also, there's a very good point that Mr. Michael mentioned earlier. I just thought to bring it back also, that we should start more research on what we have available. Let people start consuming what we have available. Let's have some change in cuisines. For example, we are consuming a total of 27 million tons, whereas we have 111 million roots and tubers that we produce in Nigeria. Why are we not consuming those? Why are we suffering? Why are we fixated on rice? Who says we must eat rice? Who said we must eat maize? Why can't we tweak our cuisines a bit? Or why don't you have researchers work on those cuisines, work on those crops, and give us some options, give us varieties from those staple crop. I will not want to take much of our time. We've already spent a lot of time this night, so I will keep it at this point. Thank you so much.
Hello.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah, my name is Francis. I have a contribution and somewhat question as well.
Okay.
I'm really impressed with the information I've got here. Especially the statistical aspect of the whole thing. I know in Nigeria, one of the big issues we have is data. There's issues of data. Sometimes when you begin to search for information, you have a lot of conflicting data. Yeah, but my contribution is, what we talked much about the value chain, the middlemen. We tend to often ignore the producers of these food items, which are the farmers, the core farmers. Nigeria of over 200 million people, over 70% are farmers, yet we are not self-sufficient in any form of our stable food. So what I'm saying is, why we are so much concerned about the efficient distribution of the food we produce to ensure that the loss is reduced and all of those. We should also pay key attention to the producers of this food, the rural people who produce this food, because often at times the middlemen take advantage of them to the point that most of the level of the migration from the rural to urban is because they feel that agriculture is for the poor people It's not profitable. But you notice that people at the middle, they make a lot of money. They hoard these items, they buy it affordably, they buy it cheap. Hoard it. Can you hear me? Hello?
We hardly hear you, but we can now.
Oh, okay. So, or can you hear me now? Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we are struggling to. We are struggling to. The network is just so terrible this night, but we are with you.
Oh, okay. So, what I'm saying is that we should pay much attention you know, to the producers of these products, and more so, the consumption of rice. Rice has transited from, you know, an expensive or a kind of exceptional commodity to a common commodity because it's kind of affordable right now. But I know COVID-19 changed our trend of consumption to a reasonable extent because the acceptability of cassava and its byproduct has really increased right now. And people still tend to ignore the cultivation of, cassava and all of that. So my contribution is, um, in as much as we want government to do so many other things in regarding to the producer of this product, there should be, you know, information availability to the producers, not even just way to diversify production, but also, the marketing aspect of the whole thing. Because often at times, because of the lack of information as regarding the pricing of food items and all of that, the people who are the core producers are being taken advantage of. And that discourages production. Coupled with the fact they lose a lot of them in post-harvest, operation. So that's my contribution. Thank you.
Okay, sorry, please, can I just quickly say something? Um, Mr. Francis, thank you for your contribution. I think it's very valid. Yes. But I think Mr. Najim can also back me up on this. But I'll say this now for us. Gone are the days when we think a farmer does not have information. Mm-mm. Gone are the days where we think a farmer does not have information. Farmers are informed about market situation. They are very much informed. When a product is, when a commodity is scarce, and it will definitely go up. Farmers know. Where farmers are having challenge is because um, the modern way of production, we are still teaching them the modern way of production based on from the perspective of from the perspective of Western education. We have not been able to get those research, make those research suitable for local consumption. If we're able to do that, I bet you understand, we'll be able to influence farmers and their production will increase. But in terms of market intelligence, market information, pricing, I tell you, the farmers are an average farmer is smarter than you. An average farmer is smarter than you right now. The activities of middlemen, yes, middlemen, the reason why they can get farmers and squeeze farmers for their own gain is because they have money. So farmers don't have direct access, to finance because they've not been able to learn financial management as relates to production and be diligent in doing that. So, you come to a farmer, you give him more access to finance. The next thing, he has other priorities he wants to attend to if he leaves the farm. So people are not too comfortable giving farmers money directly. They prefer giving them, input. But what these guys, the middlemen, come to the field to play with is they hold money, and a farmer needs money. So until we are able to change the system where the farmer can have access to money and is so diligent with the money, then we'll keep continuing having that problem. But in terms of market intelligence, I bet you an average Nigerian farmer is very intelligent. Very intelligent. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is Mr. Meju have something to add to that?
No, I think Mr. Michael has done justice, and it's a very good insight. Mr. Francis, thank you so much for your contribution. You have very good points. So I think we should leave it at that. It's really running late. I don't know. I don't really have much to say at this point, but just want to go over what we do at Noba Africa. Our core business still remains commodity trading, where we trade paddy rice, soybean, shea nut, and sesame. We also sell seeds. For if you're a farmer or an institution and you have farmers, you can contact us to buy your high quality seeds. We are more focused on rice, soybean, maize, and wheat seeds. You can always get the best quality from us. We can also invest for you if you have funds that you want to invest in agriculture. Your Noba Africa is your go-to partner, and you can be sure to secure between 18 to 24% return on your investment, depending on how much you are investing. So thank you. At this point, I would say thank you so much, Mr. Moses. You have the floor.
So, as we conclude, I encourage each of you to please continue the conversation in your communities, organizations, and network. So let's keep the momentum going and turn our ideas into actions. So once again, thank you for your participation, your insight, and your commitment to advancing food security in Nigeria. So together we can make a difference. I wish you all the very best. And once again, my name is Ogundele Moses Omedayo, Marketing Executive in Noba Africa. So I appreciate you all that attended tonight's webinar. And I'm using this video to say have a nice night to you all. So thank you, Mr. Meju. Thank you, Mr. Mosa. Thank you, Mr. Michael. And thanks to all the participants that attended tonight's webinar. So I say thank you all and have a good night. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Good night.